Jewish Federation is an umbrella organization who takes care of people in need, both here in St. Louis, in America, and all over the world.
Ilse has been a volunteer with the Jewish Federation system for over 60 years herself, but I've known Ilse for probably more than 15 years. She is a wonderful volunteer. One of the basic tenets of Judaism is a notion called tikkun olam, or repairing the world. And what's remarkable to me about Ilse is that here is a person who is a survivor of the Holocaust, whose very world was shattered.
My family, Dad, Mom, and my little sister were killed. My father was very fortunate. He was in Riga, that's in Russia, and he worked at a slave labor camp, and he was liberated by the Russians.
Yet Ilse had the resolve to know that the Jewish community was the one that was there for her. The Jewish Federation system saved her life.
I decided that I wanted to do something positive. I didn't want to sit back and say, I hate, I don't want to do anything. Life has treated me poorly. I decided to go in the opposite direction.
The very world that was broken to her, she now is working very hard to repair.
I go out to schools and I tell my story, and to the children.
She goes out to schools in the outlying communities in Missouri where many people haven't met a Jewish person or heard about the experience of the Holocaust, and she has tremendous impact. She has shared her story with many. She's gotten many beautiful letters, thank you notes, of the impact that she's had on many lives.
I usually leave them with the fact that the world should be a better place. There should be more love, more understanding, and that we're all God's children, and we must do everything to make this world a better place.
St. Louis is a very caring and giving community, and I see that in every aspect of everything I do. I'm on the board of the St. Louis chapter of the American Red Cross, and the Red Cross did a telethon in response to Hurricane Katrina. And I was so impressed with the calls that came in from people who not only wanted to give hundreds of dollars, but people who could only afford to give $10, but they wanted to do something to help. And it was just so gratifying to work on that phone bank that evening.
She just did a huge event for Dance St. Louis and raised more money than we have ever raised for an event. She is focused, and she knows what she wants, and she expects everybody to do what she needs them to do, and she makes it happen.
I wouldn't ask anyone to do anything on an event that I wouldn't do myself. I'm the last one there helping to clean up after it's over. I just believe in pitching in and doing what it takes to get the job done.
I can't tell you how much I respect her, and she is very professional, and it makes it a joy for me to work with her.
The St. Louis Internship Program provides summer jobs in corporate settings and professional settings for St. Louis City High School students with financial need. I'm on their board, and again, I work on development. I help with their fundraisers. Right now, the star of the program happens to be at Harvard Business School getting an MBA degree. He went through the program about 10 years ago, went to Mississippi State, got a degree in engineering, and then worked for Boeing, and has been on the internship board, and now he's at Harvard getting an MBA. So that's our most impressive graduate.
Whatever organization that she works with and goes out and raises funds for, I know that she does it with total professionalism.
I read a study recently that evaluated happiness, and it was revealed that the happiest people were not those who necessarily had the most money or accumulated the most material things. The people who were the happiest were those who did things for other people, and I can attest to that. Volunteering has paid great dividends for me, and I certainly encourage all women to get involved in a cause that they believe in.
I really think that the arts and culture are important to a community because they really set the standard for why people would want to live here.
Susan believes that the arts and culture contribute to the quality of life in our region. The arts are a passion for Susan. Opera theater, I think that was really the first organization that she was involved with.
I think opera theater is a great organization because they're the ones that nurture the young singers.
Susan is a former president of the Guild and is now on the board of Opera Theater. When she was on the Guild, she really helped energize it by recruiting new volunteers, by putting a major emphasis on fundraising.
One time I had asked Anna Lum if she would help me with an opera theater benefit that we were having at someone's house. And I said, Anna, we have to do all the cooking for 170 people just to save money. And she said, great. So we were cooking up a storm and we had so much food and we had put it everywhere in this house. And when the party was over and we were cleaning up, we went down to the downstairs refrigerator and found that there were 4 more trays of food that we hadn't even used. So sometimes we tend to overdo, but it's a great way to make money. Jazz St. Louis is in its 10th season and I'm very pleased with our growth. I think we have the opportunity to be the front runners of jazz in the United States. And all of the musicians love to come to St. Louis, but I'm most proud that we now have an education outreach program and we have a wonderful young jazz band. And when the musicians come to town, they love to work with them.
Susan was one of the founding members of Jazz St. Louis and has really been with the organization since its inception.
5 years ago, we decided we needed to make more money. Obviously, there's never enough to put on all the performances that we want to do, so I suggested we have a benefit. And we got everything donated, and we had it at Jazz at the Bistro, and it was a huge success.
When I think of individuals in St. Louis who give wholeheartedly and have a passion for what they do, their commitment, Susan Gelman is on top of the list.
I feel very passionate about what I do, whether it be politics or the arts or culture. I live in St. Louis, it's a great city, and I just want to make sure that in my own small way, I can make a difference.
I think Delia is an outstanding example of humanity. You know, that's a word we don't use a lot in everyday language, but humanity evokes certain mental images when we use that word. And it's somebody that's nobler, stands a little taller, shoulders are a little bit broader, somebody that really can bear up and take some burdens and make them less burdensome to their fellow man.
I suppose from a little girl, when my grandfather was sick, he would only take his medicine from me. When I graduated from high school, you had 2 choices then, go to teacher's college or go into nurse training. So then I went in nurse training, and I enjoyed my training very much. When I graduated from nurse training, I wanted to be flight hostess, flight attendant, whatever you call it. In 1957, when I graduated, it wasn't an open field for me. So I said, okay, I want to fly anyway, so I joined the Air Force. There wasn't much to do around there, so I decided I'd take flying lessons. And so I got involved with Wings of Hope. When I retired, I signed up.
We needed someone that would go to the field and do medical work. And it's a different kind of medical care. And Delia had all of the earmarks of someone who was able to do this. She knew how to take care of a human being with as little or as minimal equipment as she could have available.
When we go to a country, we go there and ask them, how can we help them? When they say what they want us to help them with, then we get busy about doing that.
Delia was someone that you could count on to be there when the difficulty was hard. The flies are flying around you, the mosquitoes are biting you, and there's a line of 200 villagers, all of which need some sort of medical care done to them.
It was an exchange of different cultures. It was like nurse, teacher, friend.
Nothing seemed to bother her. She could look past these difficult circumstances. She stunk, I stunk, who cared? We're going to get the job done. I mean, this woman has a tremendous amount of experience and skill. And she's also been a pilot in her past life. She's flown airplanes. I mean, there's nothing that Wings of Hope does that Delia did not have some experience about and very good capabilities with. And she wants to leave this place a better place than what it was when she found it.
I mean, each flight is different, but there are always things that make you feel good. You know, make you feel like that you've done something for someone else. I enjoy it. It's like one big family. Come and join our family.
It all started years ago when I was a hospice volunteer for about 7 years. And we were beginning to see people living with AIDS coming to the hospital. And the nurses wouldn't even touch them. And it turned me toward wanting to work with people with AIDS.
Food Outreach is an organization that prepares food, and people that are ill with AIDS can come in, or I think the food is also delivered out to these people. They're nutritious, healthy, excellent meals to help take care of these people who've been shunned by society, perhaps even their family.
Food Outreach was working out of Union Avenue Christian Church when I started with them in '89. And we had only donated kitchen freezers from friends of the agency, and of course they were always going on the fritz. And one of my jobs when I came in every week was to check those freezers, and many times one of them had gone out and was a big financial loss.
To do that work there and watch it grow and watch more and more people come in has to be amazing. And she goes there weekly.
We've been in this building now about 5 years. It's an old warehouse that we rehab. The clients come in and order from a menu, and their choices are just fabulous.
Although her life is comfortable, she reaches out to others. And yes, they range from troubled children to people with AIDS, and where others would just shut the door and wouldn't even look beyond, the surface of who these people are, why they have their problems. Her heart just reaches right out to these people.
I feel so close to all of them. It does something for me and my spirit to go in there. You can't feel sorry for yourself when you see a lot of people that are a lot worse off than you are.
A good neighbor is somebody who is tolerant and respectful of other people's views, be it on a personal level or a societal level. And please let it be known, she has opinions and views. However, she can accept others.
I have very strong feelings about that. I feel fortunate to be where I am, and I feel like I need to reach out to those who are not so fortunate.
My family was very much involved in volunteering in the community, and I certainly followed.
If I listed all the organizations that Myrna was either the head of or was a volunteer in not only in St. Louis but around the country, I'm sure you could pick 100 or more organizations that Myrna has been intimately involved in.
The St. Louis Holocaust Museum and Learning Center is probably one of the most important institutions I've ever been involved with.
Myrna was one of the original docents at the museum. The docents actually lead the groups through and explain to them what it is they're seeing and tries to give them some history.
The thing that I feel is most important and what I get out of the Holocaust Museum and being involved is I truly have the privilege of working with the survivors and hearing their stories, which are so heartbreaking and inspiring. And then I have the privilege of taking their stories and passing them on to the children who come through the museum.
She is now entering her second term as chairman.
I'd say that it is, without a doubt, the most fulfilling volunteer task I've ever had. It's really become a love of mine.
A program that Myrna started, which has become very popular, is called the Trunk Program.
And this trunk is filled with teaching material that will help a teacher prepare for 1 month and teach her students the lessons of the Holocaust.
When you take a group of high school students through a museum, you know, some will pay attention and some won't, but this gives them the opportunity to see something before they actually go through it.
What makes a good volunteer is someone who feels very, very committed to what they're doing.
I think Myrna has a great heart, and I think she really does these things because there's such a thing as what they call a selfish giver. Myrna, to some extent, is a selfish giver because she enjoys what she does and she feels good about what she does, and she makes people around her feel good.
As many people say, I get much more out of it than I give, and I know that people say that often and often, but in my case, it's true. It's true. Every job I've taken, I've grown from it. My family has grown from it. And hopefully I've given back.
The Office of Multicultural Relations is a support unit under Academic Affairs at the University of Missouri St. Louis. And our mission is primarily retention of students of color. That is very important to not only Chancellor George, but all the staff and faculty and administrators. We believe that retention of the students who are a part of the University of Missouri St. Louis is really what enhances the fabric of our academic experience, but as well the cultural enrichment at the university.
It's a place where students can go, they can study, they can go to get help in terms of tutoring. They can also be networked with other students, maybe not all necessarily just on the coursework, but on problems or issues that come up. The whole idea of this is to make sure that students, particularly students of color, diversity students, can succeed and be successful, and that's what the center does, and Gwen is the director of that center.
Young people have needs greater than ever before, and it is up to us to respond to those needs. It's nothing that's too large or too small to consider doing when you really care about the plight of others and in essence, the plight of our society.
Part of it is just the sense of who she is. I mean, she cares about people. She cares about the community. She's been quite involved in the community in general. And when I say community, I mean the greater St. Louis community. But she really does care about the students.
10 years ago, life really took a turn in that I lost Ron. Even in the midst of life changing at that point, volunteerism was still high on the list. And so volunteering at the Girls and Boys Clubs, at the YWCA, being a part of Forest Park Forever, being a part of Focus St. Louis, being a part of the United Way, all of that remained because that really helped me maintain my sanity, my focus, and my passion.
I think it's important that everybody contributes to their community, no matter what capacity. I believe in bloom where you're planted. I think it's your responsibility, if you're living there, to make it be a better place.
Community betterment is a very broad term, and she has defined it broadly in terms of her 50 years of volunteer work in the community.
In 1956, we started a humane society, Alton Area Animal Aid.
Among the many activities that Joanne has become involved with, you can see her interest in the culture and the history and the beauty of our community.
Robert Wadlow was 8'11" and the tallest man recorded on Earth. The Alton Museum of History and Art formed a citizens group, and we raised money to have the statue done.
That statue is almost always visited. They climb up his legs, up his arms. They measure their children by how they've grown in relation to where they come up against Robert Wadlow. She's worked in volunteer organizations that preserve the history of the area or preserve the physical beauty of the area. Organizations that provide social services to different populations in the area, as well as running for school board and serving in many capacities in the Alton Public School District.
I can be a chief, I can be an Indian, it doesn't matter. I just like to be out and meet new people, do different things, work in the schools. Everybody should help a little bit.
Joanne was involved in a period of social change that, at least to date, is unrivaled in our lifetimes. And in the Alton School District, the schools were segregated and, as they usually are, unfairly disadvantaging children of color. And for her, it was just unconscionable. But she was on the board and she was able to make a change.
And it ended up that we had a perfectly balanced, integrated school district. We still have that school district. We've built a new high school and it is magnificent. And I'm proud that I was part of that. The Alton-Godfrey area is wonderful. We've raised our 4 children there. They've had a great education in the school district. So we love Alton. It's a great place. Come on over.
My love of the arts, I think, began when I was a very small child. I was a dancer for 12 years semi-professionally. I spent so much time at a dance studio throughout elementary school and high school, so I think to hear an amazing symphony performance, to go to a museum, to look at a beautiful picture, to hear opera or any of the performing arts, to see kids perform or whatever, just to me at least brings an immense amount of joy.
Susan got connected to the Contemporary, back then called the Forum, in 1993, I believe.
I started as a volunteer. I was then asked to reinvigorate a young support program called the Forum Art Beats, which I did. Then I joined the board, and I filled various roles on the board, the last being the chairman of the board. So I've done it all, and I get involved in every area of the museum just because I love it so much, except curatorial. I leave that to Paul and his staff.
The Contemporary Art Museum St. Louis is a brand new, but also an old institution in that we opened our doors in 2003, but we existed as the Forum for Contemporary Art for about 20 years. And we are a non-collecting institution dedicated to showing contemporary art.
Well, I've been very fortunate in St. Louis since I moved here. I immediately jumped in feet first with the contemporary, but I've also done work with the Center of Creative Arts, COCA. My kids have gone there since they were 18 months old. With Opera Theater of St. Louis. I mean, how can you not love that institution, and Charles McKay? I've done work with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, love the orchestra business. I've recently become involved with food outreach, which my husband and I really believe in, as well as Hope Happens, which was formerly ALS Hope at Washington University. So those are the organizations that we believe in, yet the Contemporary is really my baby.
I know that Susan has sacrificed quite a bit to all the organizations that she helps, and I know for a fact that not a day goes by without Susan thinking about the Contemporary, and we owe everything to Susan.
I think as far as volunteering, you need to find out what your passion is and go there. I mean, you'll get so much more out of it. It's very easy to join a board or become involved on a party committee just because it's the thing to do and you'll meet all the right people. But to really get something important out of an organization, I think you need to find your passion and then immediately head straight to that organization and sign up.
There are so many women in our society who are living on the margins of society, who do not get an adequate education, who do not have adequate housing, do not have adequate medical care. And children are also in profound need because they're growing up in situations where, for many of them, they are not on a level playing field.
Let's Start was founded by Sister Jackie In 1989, herself and 3 formerly incarcerated women, just because she saw the need that these women didn't have a voice, these children didn't have a voice. And so what she did was actually empower the women to feel good about themselves.
Let's Start is a support process for women who have addictions or women who are coming out of jail and prison. What we do is provide for them a support process. The whole philosophy of Let's Start is that the women themselves are the leaders of the group.
She takes each woman's experience unique to her to say, what can you bring out in yourself to say that you are a success? And I think that really is the hallmark there, because it's not a cookie cutter design.
So we meet as a group every Tuesday evening. One of the women who's lived the experience facilitates that group process, and they simply support each other. On Tuesday evenings, they will also bring their children with them. And so we'll have volunteers who come and work with the kids depending upon whatever their needs are. We also do a lot of education in the community whereby the women themselves speak to various organizations about their experience and what worked for them as far as making changes in their lives. We also talk to a lot of folks about the impact of addiction and incarceration on children.
The statistics tell you that these children are 6 times more likely to end up in prison themselves because the parents have been incarcerated. And so what we try to do is stop that intergenerational gap. The interesting thing about Sister Jackie is the fact that she's genuine, and that makes a big difference. Let's Start has a 67% success rate for the women that stay connected. Last fiscal year, we served 212 women.
What that says to me is that people can change, there is hope, and that no matter what our past experiences are, if we have people who support us and care for us and encourage us and challenge us, anybody can change.